Hello everyone, welcome back to another Hytale video, and the first video inside of our creative world. If you've watched my latest Hytale episode, if that actually comes out before this one, I do not know yet, you will know this world. It is my creative world that I started at the end of last episode, but I kind of wanted to start a creative series where I explore what Hytale has to offer outside of its exploration mode. I'd spent some time building like a spawn build. I spent some time building my spawn build for the exploration world, and just now I made a tree. And as I was doing this, I started messing around with like the building tools, and I came across some bugs that I kind of just wanted to highlight, and then we will get into what we're going to be building today, which is going to be obviously the thing I like building the most, which is trees. With that all said, I was going to move my tree, and I have the selection tool right here, which, by the way, as soon as you get used to how to use the selection tools and all whatnot, it is such a game changer. I really do like the way that you can just click and drag these boxes around to make your selection just the way you like it, as you can see. So I kind of want to select this tree and move it over, and as you can see, you can just click and drag on each of the blue surfaces to make it bigger or make it smaller. In this case, I'm making it smaller just to fit snugly around my tree. And as you can see here, it selects the part of the floor as well. I do not want that, so I'm going to do just above the floor, and now I could move this. Now I discovered a problem, and that's why I actually started recording right now rather than recording a little bit later into me building more trees, is the fact that when I press, if you look in the left side of the field, you have the legend. You can open that and it shows you like building tools of what you can do, and there is like a tool where you can quickly move your selection with the actual blocks inside. And I think it was like Shift T, I think? No, it's just T, so attach selection to cursor. So if I press T, you can see how I can like whoosh, how I can move the tree and place it basically all around. I made some dotted surfaces here so I can space my trees equally, so I can create like an inventory log of trees. But I don't want this tree specifically to be my first tree in the bunch, so I wanted to move it over into the second row. And if I do this and I right-click, it moves the entire tree over there. Now, when I make the selection gone, select, I can type. My keyboard's also broken, so it tends to type double letters. Oh, yikes. There you go. If I now, for example, wanted to continue editing this tree, watch what happens. Yeah, so my tree's broken now. Alright, I don't know where I'm going to cut back into the video, but I just had a quick talk with Arcaniacs, as he's going to look into the whole tree logs and the collision being broken as soon as you try to edit it. Regardless, though, I found another way around it. It's a little bit more typing, but we can basically copy trees around without having them break every 2 seconds. And as a matter of fact, I moved that tree around, and we're changing the colors to, you know, represent a birch tree more. For now, we're going to be building trees with the actual representative blocks of the game, so I'm using birch leaves and birch tree trunks. For this tree, we're going to be using oak leaves and oak logs to make actual oak trees. And as the series progresses and we'll get to know the game a little bit better, we can start experimenting with different colors of leaves for different colors of trees, and see what, you know, color theory where it will bring us and all whatnot. Because I can see these leaves, like for example, could work really well together in like shading. But that's not going to be something for now. That's going to be something for later. Yeah, like these leaves look really well. Like if you clump them together, their shapes are different, but also the colors are different. So you could basically make it so that, yeah, you have a little bit of a highlight, you have the main color, and then you have a dark side as well. So that could be really cool to look into later when building trees with these different colors. But for now, we're going to stick true to what the game says the leaves' names are, the descriptions are. We're going to stay very vanilla-ish. And then as the game progresses and as this series progresses, we're going to go into more intricate stuff the way that I did here, where I used a different color of ocean bricks to signify some texturing, but also shading where it's darker on the bottom, lighter on the top. Alrighty, I found myself a nice image of what I wanted to create. I'm going to pop it on screen here on the right side. And this is a walnut tree. This is as close as I'm going to get to a actual oak tree of what you would see in game, where you would see the default oak trees having like a very slender trunk that goes quite up high and has like an egg shape or like a reversed apple shape of a crown when it comes to the leaves. There's going to be a lot of branches sprouting outwards to make that like rounder shape. Compared to this one, this is more like a straight line up and then like a cone shape of leaves. What we're going to be doing right now is we're going to go up like this, and then we're going to have like a reversed apple shape like this. Something along the lines like that. That's what we're going to be creating in a little bit of a bigger scale. And I'm going to keep that reference image throughout the episode, show you how we're going to be doing this. It's not an exact oak tree, but like in my head, like a oak tree has different sizes. I don't know the actual biological names for all the trees. I just have like an overarching term for like the color and the shape they have. And this one kind of falls underneath that category that I built like as like my default oak tree. So I'm going to be starting with that. I don't know how I'm going to be commentating on these videos. I want to keep them very light. I want to keep them insightful, but also experimental. You know, I am in no way, shape, or form a master tree builder or anything like that. But I do have a giant passion for trees. And I do want to share my my whole building process with you, and in hopes that you can learn something from this as well. So that's what I'm trying to do. So right now I am making like my main branch go upwards. The leaves are going to be hanging quite low because these type of trees are kind of like bulky up top. I want to keep them as low to the ground as possible to make them feel cozy. You could read a book down here and be indulged by all the leaves above you. So I want to make sure that like we don't go too high with our first branches. So I think these ones might actually go a little bit lower. Actually, no, I'm going to keep them a little bit higher. As you can see, it's going to be a trial and error just like this, where we're going to be expanding our leaves and our branches constantly to make sure that feel that we have of the tree is just about right. So I'm choosing branches that go in all different directions, so we create an imaginary sphere around our log. As you can see, I have like 4 directions. I have the 4 diagonal lines going in, and that's going to make it so when I put in leaves, it's going to look like a circle rather than oval or circular in one end and then square in the other. But then to make it fit all in, we're going to go up higher and do the same exact thing, but just this time in other directions. So for now, we're going to be doing that. And we're going to do this and bring it back to the middle here. And then this one we're going to go bring up and maybe divide into like 2 regions like so. Something along the lines like this. I think that could look potentially great for like a base of a tree. It's not that much of a crazy thing. I just work with like diagonals and always have like blocks interconnecting. And the whole part about me building a tree is that I want to make sure that it doesn't look like a giant blob. Right now, as you can see, like every angle of a branch is its own distinct shape. If I were to like place them more close to each other, you would get like a giant lump of logs. And in a tiny tree like this, having like a side angle that's this thick wouldn't work. It's a small tree. I want to be able to figure of speech build this in exploration in my own exploration world and not have to work ages to make just one tree. So I want to make it as easy as possible for myself. I think this, for now, does our trunks really well. I have a little palette here of what we can work with. We have the actual blocks that represent oak leaves, and we have the actual branches that we could use. Now, I'm not going to use them too abundantly because we cannot use them in survival exploration as of yet, but it is nice that you could actually potentially make more distinct log shapes if you were to go around and experiment a bit with how you could, make the tree look in different directions just like they do in exploration mode. All right, let's talk about leaves. There are tools where you could like have leaves pop in and they look fluffy and they look really nice. But in my whole building process of building trees, there weren't such things as those like special brushes. So I learned a method to do it on my own. And the way that I do it is that if I make a sphere, I would do something along the lines like this, where you would just make a sphere like that, and that is a giant spherical shape within a block game. This looks really like clumped up together, so the way that I would make it believable that these are fluffy leaves and airy leaves where light can actually pass through, because as you can see, no light passes through these things, so I want to make sure that there's light passing through these things. So I'm going to be breaking some of the leaves in between, but then place some of them back in places where you would not see them normally. So I would do stuff like this and go in by hand and place some break blocks. Sometimes, like right here, it's a little bit too much, so I would place perhaps one right here, but then break, for example, this one. Then that one would be too much, so maybe I would place them back here, and then break this one instead, break this one instead. And then, like as you can see, the shape is still spherical, but right now it's a little bit more fluffy. And if we do this on a bigger scale and have a bunch of these tiny spheres dotted around, you would see that we can create leaves that look airy, and you could still see the branches in between, just like this tree on the side here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this technique that I just explained and, do it on our little tree that we just built right here. There you go. That's one sphere around this branch. Now let's do the same around here, where I go out and I go up a little bit, leaving air blocks in between, making sure that I go down and underneath it as well, so the leaves don't feel like they're on top of the branch, but around the branch. Boom. And just like that, we have already 2 branches done. And the thing is, we're going to have not enough leaves once we do all the branches. There's going to be empty spots in between here, for example. And that's when we go into the second stage, where we just go around and add more leaves as we see fit. And that is just a whole, like, learning the feel of trees and learning to see trees. And the best way to do that is to, go outside and touch grass, basically. Not necessarily touch grass, but just kind of go out and look at trees. I have a bunch of forests around the place where I live. So when I do go for walks, I try to go, and explore those regions where there's trees. Now, sadly, I don't have many variety of trees where I live, and maybe that's the whole reason why I have such a fascination with trees. Not in a way that I would know all the biological names and the way trees are grown and why they grow there and where they grow and all whatnot. Like, I'm not that interested in trees. I just love the shape of trees and the peace they give me when I look at them or when I sit underneath them. As you can see, we got like 2 giant clumps right now. And now it's important to keep in mind of what the shape of my tree actually needs to be so I don't overdo it. So what I sometimes do is I grab a different block, or in this case, because I know how to do it so much, I use just leaf blocks and then build over them as I go. We're going to build like a spherical pear or apple shape around our tree, or one angle of the tree, so we know what we want the tree to look like when it is done, and then we can kind of have this as a guideline for us to stay within, to make sure that we do not lose the actual essence of the tree that we want to build. Keep in mind, the picture that I have on the side of the screen here is kind of a reference of what I want it to look like. So it kind of goes higher than it actually goes up. So as you can see, ours could technically still go a little bit more wide and a little bit more higher, to the point where it gets that little like egg-like shape rather than apple-like shape. I'm going to bring it upwards just a little tad more and then break the leaves underneath here to signify that this is the shape that we want. I feel like Bob Ross talking about like the artsy fartsy stuff that I'm doing. Placing happy little trees everywhere. Alright, here we go. Just like that. This seems like it could be a nice shape for the tree. You see what I'm getting at? It might be a little bit lower, so it doesn't start replicating our birch tree, but high enough so it feels more like it's higher than it's wider, but then also still wide enough so it feels like it's a nice supporting big tree. And we need to make sure that we keep doing this on all four sides. So I'm going to keep that guideline for me as I go around and place more leaves around like so. As I'm doing this, I probably will get the question like, hey, is this doable in survival? And yes, it is, except for the fact that in Hytale right now, leaves are pass-throughable, so it's really difficult to do in survival or in exploration. But you can basically modify it so that the leaves are full solid blocks, and that's what I did into my survival world to kind of make this giant tree into our spawn build over at our exploration let's play. But yeah, it definitely is possible. You just need to modify the game a little bit in order to make it easier for yourself to do this type of thing. But yes, it is very much possible. The same technique goes for there as well. You just go around all the branches and make spherical shapes until your desired shape has been laid out, and you make a guideline, one or two, to make sure that you stick within the original vision of what you wanted the tree to look like. You know, it's kind of funny because back when I worked for Hypixel, I actually made a couple of videos that used to be on their Build Team's YouTube channel, how to build trees and how to use World Edit and all whatnot. It's kind of, you know, this video is kind of bringing in that type of experience and video feeling to me, except for the fact that I have gotten a lot better in explaining how I do things now rather than stumbling over my words and just going in circles, not knowing what to say. I might not still be perfect, but I definitely can already feel, even before the video is edited, that this video will be much, much better in quality than it was when I was like 18. Gosh darn it, I'm turning 30 in like a couple of months. I'm old. Hey, but this Unk can still like build trees like it's no one's business, so at least I'm part of the game still. So I've went ahead and filled in all the spheres around all the logs, and as you can see, we still got some empty spots. So now is the time to go around and fill in the shape of the tree and decide where do we want holes to be so branches can go through, and where do we want leaves to be so we cannot just fully see through. So for example, that hole right there, that needs to be filled in. You know, that needs to be filled in, and I can decide if I either want to get another branch built in, which is totally allowed. There is nothing in the rules saying that it's not allowed to build like an extra branch when you see one. So I'm going to do exactly just that, to the point where we can now actually continue building spheres around this, just like that. And then the other spots, we're going to decide for ourselves, like, hey, is this too many leaves? Like, is this just a blob of green? Should we poke holes into the leaves? Because the answer is definitely yes. And then go in and break and place a few more. As you can see, we have our guidelines still here that you can kind of see, where it just goes 4 blocks of leaves upwards. I kind of want to go and break those lines so it feels natural and it doesn't look like there's an actual line here. For example, over here as well, we kind of did break it, but I want to make sure that we break it a little bit more in a way that like it's not noticeable, just like that. Cool, very, very cool. Over here we got like a hole that I do kind of want to keep, so I'm gonna just fill it up a tiny little bit to the way that like it feels natural that there would be branches poking through here. But as you can see, there might be a little bit too much going on, so we want to check out and see if we can maybe drag both these spheres down a little bit without losing its spherical shape, so it blocks a little bit more of those leaves. And then we would bring this down a little bit more towards this branch over here, and then also break some in between so it's not just a giant lump of leaves. It goes into more of a natural looking type of leaf situation here. It is all about getting the feel. Like, you can't do much wrong except for the fact that it feels off. And the whole way of getting better at that is building trees and looking at them, and specifically looking at them like, is every block placed with a reason? Like, the reason why I keep gaps in between is you can see the branches, you can see them growing. Even the concept art, you can still see those branches pop through the leaves. That's what I kind of want to create. I don't just want to get like a lollipop stick where it's just like, this is brown and this is green, boom, that's my tree. You know, I want to make colors blend. I want to make, you know, it seem natural to the eye. Like, if I come here, this might be too much brown, so I would kind of like extend this leaf like this, where it would, you know, break that vision of brown just a little bit to the point where, oh yeah, look at that, now leaves are coming through. You know, that's the feeling I wanna evoke when you watch these trees, when you build these trees. You know, I want to see the branches, but they need to be there like ever so subtly. And by doing those air gaps between the leaves, you can get those subtle peek throughs, especially with how Hytale does their leaves. Like, they're a block, but they poke out from every single side, so you have like natural creating gaps anyways. So if you then combine that with my technique, you get like these nice gaps of gaps of, you know, logs peeking through, and you can use those like log blocks to create another color of brown popping through. For example, I could place this one a little bit higher, and that way that's a natural looking tree branch. It just doesn't have any leaves anymore. Like, that is storytelling within trees, and I do genuinely like that. Now we have a few more of these empty spots to fill up, and I think we shouldn't waste too much time on them, because I think the tree is getting really close to like an actual well view. Now the thing is, we've been looking at our tree from one angle, and the most important thing to do about your trees is looking at it from multiple angles. For example, this tree looks really lopsided if you look at it from this angle, but then when you go from another angle, it looks really good. So that's like still something I'm working on. But yeah, the most important thing is right now that we go and check out this tree from multiple angles. So this angle looks almost identical to what we have it based off of, but then when we go around, we can see it becomes a little bit lopsided here. So what I might do is have, like, I don't know, maybe like a branch or two leading off in this direction, upwards, and then have two of these stick out to the point where I can then justify having a few leaves coming lower and connect it like that, to the point where now it will probably make more sense why there's leaves down here. And as you can see, boom, just like that, we fixed that angle. All right, now let's go from another angle. Let's see from this side. This side looks perfect as well. We have a little bit of a lopside here, but I think sometimes it's just okay to have that. Where it's not okay to have that is over here. You can see how there's so much brown over here. I don't want to cover it all up, but maybe, just maybe, go around and have this one extend a little bit more to the side, and then have these ones come down just a tad more, where now instead of like a giant oval, it's more like it's cut down just a little bit. And that's the whole balance that I'm talking about. Like, you have to learn how to see those things, and the only way of learning that is going out and looking at actual trees, or for this matter, looking at concept art and see how some of the leaves block the branches behind it, but then other parts it just reveals more as we go on. So I want to keep some of these in, so I'm thinking, like, if I delete that one, yeah, you can see that it pops a little bit more brown on top of there. Perfect. And then maybe, just maybe, I want to create a few more here to the point where on this end you have some depth in those leaves to fill up that hole as well. Boom. Just like that, we have created ourselves a little walnut tree. Well, I think we should build like another tree just to, you know, spruce things up a little bit. Alright everyone, I took the time to make yet another tree, and I think it's nice that now that this tree is complete, we go around and mess around a little bit with the building tools in this game so that you guys can, you know, get to know what it is all about, and also I get to learn what the ins and outs are of this tool. And I think the best way to showcase is to dissect this little spruce tree that we did. It's nothing too special. I just used branches to signify the little angles that like spruce trees have. I left in a lot of gaps so you can still see the tree, but let's see how we could use the tools to dissect this a little bit better. So if we have the selection tool in our hand and we press L, we get this nice little legend on the left side of our screen. I'm trying to get to it. Here you go. And as you can see, we have all these different tabs that we can go in through and all these different commands that we coincide with this tool. Now, you can go through these. I haven't gone through everything yet, but I found a couple ones that are very nice to use, which, again, the whole selection point of where I was moving the trees and then the trees would disappear over time is also in this thing. But the whole reason why I'm showing you this is that if I want to dissect a tree, and for example, I am now going to select the tree that I want, and we're going to be deleting the leaves so we could see what I did with the branches. Whoops, I messed up. Let's quickly do that again, like so. Boom. So now with our selection made, we can go into our tab. And on the right here, we have the settings for this tool. Like if I were to scroll, you can see the settings would change. So every tool has their own settings here on the right when you have them selected. If I press this, we can go into replace mode, and we could basically go in and select the leaf type that we want. In this case, it's that. I've noticed that if we were to also include the leaf tip, the command doesn't work anymore, so I don't know why that is. So for now, we're going to just use the regular fir leaves. The tips are only at the top, so that doesn't matter. And we're going to replace it with nothing. I assume that if I now click on execute command, it should normally delete every single leaf, as you can see, besides the fact that I have the top leaves here. Now, our selection is still here. My apologies. I need to drink some water. What I was saying is that our selection is still here. Now, we could go in and type deselect, which would also get the same results, but if I do undo, our selection would come back, I think. No, our selection does not come back. Okay, never mind. I'm going to make a new selection. What you can also do is just press the delete key on your keyboard, and it also deletes the selection. What the difference is with spruce trees is that it's a giant cone, a giant spike, basically. And so the tree branches is not that complicated. I don't want to go all the separate ways, the way that we did it with this one and the way that I kind of did it with this one. I want to keep them quite basic, and I want to keep them just roughly bigger on the bottom than towards the top. And that's also the reason why over here I started going smaller, smaller, and then I even went with the regular branch transitioning into the small branches all the way to the top. And then when I brought back the leaves, so when I do the undo command, I think this is the undo command for me. Where is it? Vinny, can you do the undo command, please? I do not know what the undo command is. Sure, I'll just type it in. There you go. I'm still learning, as you can see. I'm still learning as well. But as you can see here, I also made sure that the bottom leaves are wider, and as I go up, I progressively went thinner and thinner and thinner. So as you can see here, it's 4 blocks wide on each side. This is also 4 blocks, and we go to 3, 3, 3, and it goes to 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, and then actually 1 at the top here as well, making it so that's a nice sharp cone-like figure, making that nice spruce feel. Now, I just realized that these trees are not too far different than the ones that are actually in the game. So I guess, you know, seeing that these prefab trees that are being used in the game are also built by former buddies of mine, well, it makes sense that I kind of built the same. Especially on this small scale, there is not much way of adding detail, or at least I haven't figured out how I could add small details just like that. But in a way, we have this small tree over here. Nothing too special, but you can see how I just kind of went ahead and did that. I want to go ahead and build one more tree in this video, and I want to build something bigger as well. So we might just go do that. But first, I need to find a reference image. Alrighty, Lemon Spritey, we got ourselves a tree, and we're going to throw out all the rules that I said earlier in this episode. We are going to step away from the actual names and what they're used for. We're going to be making our own custom tree that's a little bit bigger than these ones, and also we're going to experiment with colors. And I don't know, I'm just in a warm, cozy feeling, and I want to do something with, like, these colored leaves. Like, I love the color combination from the autumn leaves with the aspen leaves and with the maple leaves. I think they could make for some really nice shading. And then, because of the fact that I love the way that the texture on this cedar wood is looking, it reminds me of one of those nice warm-looking oaks. And so I kind of want to have this texture and maybe some other textures combined to make a nice-looking warm autumn-ish tree on top of a hill. So to showcase the quick selection tool again, I'm quickly going to just select the entire floor here and the entire mountain and raise that one bar block. And now if I were to press T, I can select it all and basically move it a little bit further ahead, so we're away from our thing. And if I press right click, it confirms that straight away. Now let's say if I want to replace this with grass again, I can then just select like that, perhaps go a little bit further underneath all of this. And as you can see, I selected the bottom floor. If I now just type in set grass underscore block, that should, nope, is that not grass block? Hold up. Grass, is it? Soil grass. Okay, so if I now do soil underscore grass, boom, and then I press delete, boom, just like that, I fixed my flooring and moved our build over to the side so we are not straight away into our build and not interrupting anything. Perfect. So starting off with our tree, I want to put it on top of here, and when we look at our tree design, we notice that it is bigger than a one wide block. It's a big chunky base. So I want to make a 2x2 wide tree and then have the actual roots be a little bit wider so we could have a nice basey tree. Now I want to have the swing on that side perhaps to put it in balance, or would we put the swing on the left or the right side? Let me decide that. If we have a tree cover like this, the swing would be nice if we had it in the center, so I'm going to put the tree a little bit more to the side here. So I once again could go with the selection tool and then just select a tree like this and move it all over. If I press T, I could just... Oh, it goes down one block. Interesting. Huh. It does go down one block. Why is that? Interesting. Interesting. If I now go here... Yeah, it does go down one block. Okay, so placing it is a little bit finicky. I guess it depends on how you extrude it in a way that it copies itself one block lower or not. But if we move it to the side here, we have some place to put the swing on this side without it being out of place. So let's extend this region just a little bit. Boom. Just like that. And then we can start making the tree branch. So I want to have a big root on this side. So I'm going to extend it diagonally and make it thinner as I reach out to this side. Now I realize I'm using the faceless logs, so I'm going to replace these. And that way we can make it a little bit nicer. I don't know if I want to have one lower or just one on the same height. It seemed a little bit too much, so I'm going to have that one there. And then maybe have another sub-branch like this and a tiny one here. That way we have like 3 big whole roots, basically establishing the tree's stability on this side, and then maybe we want to have another one on this side to signify its strength on this side as well. So we're going to extend this a little bit, because we're going to need that height for our swing to come down. So I want to also curve it outwards a little bit, and I'm going to curve it towards our side over to the left here. So I'm going to put another 2x2, one diagonal block towards me and towards the left. That way we can start curving. Now, the thickness of the tree is definitely going to thin out. So for now, I am keeping it 2x2, but we're going to go back in and make it thinner as we go. So we have that here. I'm just laying out the rough shapes. And now I want to create the branch where the swing is going to be attached to. So I want to make like a branch like that, for example. And that branch obviously needs some support. So we're going to make it thicker in some places and then thin out as we go along. So that could potentially be our thickness of the branch. And then curve it a little bit more. Like so, perhaps? That seems too straight now. So we're definitely either going to have another branch from this angle to balance it out. Something along the lines like this. To balance it out. Yeah, that seems okay. And then maybe we could bring this one down a little bit. So it has like a curvature shape like that. Cool. But then to counterbalance it, because the tree is now drooping towards the left, we need to have like a counterweight that brings it towards the right. Now, I could go symmetrical. Our brains try to do symmetrical things. They try to make symmetrical connections, so it would be wise to like make a symmetrical build out of it. Now, I like to break those patterns with trees because in a way, like having a symmetrical tree like these are kind of cool, but it also doesn't tell anything interesting. When we're building like an arts piece or like a painting, we want to have points of interest. So knowing that we're going to put a swing there, we want to counterbalance that by having the tree go upwards a little bit more here. So we create like empty space down here. Instead of making the curve straight away on the same height, we're going to perhaps bring this tree up and around a little bit more back to the center, but then curve it a little bit more to the right rather than all the way to the right. You see how this immediately already balances it out? Now, I haven't nailed the shape yet, but we are definitely already moving in a good direction. And once again, like I said earlier, it's all about practicing trees and learning how to see trees in order to actually see the connections that I'm doing in my brain. But that is something that you will learn over time as well when you start building trees. As you can see, I'm also now starting to slim down some of the parts that I find too thick. I want to make sure that this tree isn't thick all the way. It has a thick like base, but the higher we go up in the tree, the smaller it should get. So I am trying to do just that by making it, thin out as we go along. I do not want to go straight ahead and go to the actual branches that we have here. I want to use the logs as long as we can, and then use the branches as accents rather than actual design purposes. I want to have them as as like little details rather than structural needs, basically. There you go. I think we got our core branches laid out. So we got four core branches, which is this one, that one, and this one. Now, these are not going to be enough. I can already tell you they're not going to be enough, so we're going to have a 5th/6th that goes upwards into this direction so that we have something to base our leaf crown off. And this is something from experience that I know that we're going to need like another one, because if I were to start placing leaves right now, I would have a giant empty gap in the middle. We're not going to see this branch that much, but it is going to be there just to support our leaves when we start placing the leaves. And I want to make sure that this one also curves down just a tiny tad so we don't have leaves all the way high up but also lower, just like that, for example. We're going to add one more tree branch, and then I think it's about time that we start going into making our leaves and then adding branches where we see fit, because we're definitely going to have to add branches later on to make sure that it supports everything. But for now, I think we got ourselves a nice looking base tree to start placing leaves at. Now I want to go and try around with the actual tools, so we're going to go with the paintbrush and see if we can use that to make our base layer for the leaves. Now when we have these three colors, we have basically a highlight, a midtone, and a shadow. And so we're going to make our base tree with the midtone, and then we're going to go back in, add some highlights and some shadows. And if we look at our reference image, we can see that the sun comes from one direction. So we're going to try and replicate that by adding more highlights to the left side of our image and then adding the more shadows on the right side of our image. Now, in the picture as well, our swing is on the right side. With us, it's going to be on the left side, but that doesn't matter. We have this as a concept image. We kind of want to recreate it as much as we can and make our own version about it. It's not about making the exact replica. It's about taking elements that we like about a certain image and translating that into this game. So, if I now go into our paintbrush, we can go and get our autumn leaf and use that as the material. We can make our brush size. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, so we're going to do a sphere from 8 till 8. We can have all these different types of shapes, but I guess for like leaves, the spheres are the best to do. We have the origin center, which is just where I click is going to be the center point of the leaves, which I do kind of like. We can offset this to top and bottom if we want to have more control of adding our leaves. Axis control, I do not know what that is, but I think it's when we're rotating stuff, I guess. Wall thickness is nice to have too. If we keep it at 0, it's just going to be a full ball of leaves. Now, we don't want that, but we also don't want just like an outer shell of leaves. So we're going to keep this on 0. But when we come down to density, if I get it correctly, if I put this, let's say, at like 45%, it's going to put 45% of this 8x8 sphere with leaves, and the other 60 or 55% is going to be, no, 65%, yeah, 65% is going to be air. So if I do this and find the right balance between air and leaves, we can basically make it so that it's going to place a nice looking fluffy ball of leaves. Now, if I look at here, this might be too big of a sphere. If you look at this, if I'm going to place this, it's going to destroy my entire tree, but also the sphere's too big. So we're going to tone it down. We're going to go back to like a 5x5, perhaps maybe a 6x6. And then we need one more thing. If I don't want it to replace wood, I could just do not wood, right? Yeah, that works as well. Okay, so now I guess it did the same thing that I wanted to do. Yes. Okay, cool. All right, it's taking some time figuring it out, but now I have it so that it doesn't replace our log blocks, and it only replaces our leaves and our air blocks in between. So now we can go around and connect these dots with more dots, and resulting into a nice fluffy tree. So I could also go around and mess around with the size of the brush in order to give us more control. So if I were to now go in and increase the size of this to, like, let's say 8, and 8 here as well, and I were to place one in the side here, you can see, boom, it's going to create like a giant leaf. But the density is way too high in this one. So we'd have to undo this and then go back in, make that density a lot less, like 20% for example. Boom. And if I do that now, there is more leaf blocks in here that could help us make this tree. This is fast. This is making tree building so much faster, and it's going to help people get the gist of building trees very quickly. Now, my advice in this is to use brushes, but then to always refine them by hand when you can. So now that we've done the rough leaves, we can go in and see if we need to add any more branches to support it. Now, I am thinking of putting one, like, extra... Oh! That sucks. Can I undo this? Okay, I can't. Ooh. Well then. Going in by hand right now is broken. Arcaniacs! If you're watching, my friend, can we please fix this? I don't want to abuse my power, but I want these videos to be kind of educational as well. Because we had a good tree. And now it's gone. Alright, about 5 crash outs later, because I kept deleting my tree, I think we're gonna have to do it with a workaround. I did speak to Arcaniacs. He's going to look into the problem. I don't know if anyone else in the building community is having issues with this, but I definitely am. But for now, we're going to work around with basically just making the entire tree made out of wool. So I replaced the trunk with black wool, and I replaced the leaves with orange wool. And then basically I went in by hand and fixed some spaces and here whatnot, to make sure that none of the blocks are floating, that every block is a little bit connected to the other, that the shape is correct. So right now it seems about right. For now, what I want to do is we're going to go in and add the little details that we want to do. So we're going to add in the swing. I'm going to quickly get ourselves some ropes. There we go. Rope. There we go. And now we get to decide where we want to place our little swing. I think I want to place like one middle wool over here as well, so that we can then have our swing come down from here. Now I am keeping like a 1 block gap in between, but maybe I should just have it too wide, because this seems to be a little bit too much of a platform. So what would happen if I take this down, but then place it here, closer by the other rope? That seems a little bit more believable, right? If we would put a swing down on that rope. So if we bring it down like 2 more blocks, how low are we to the ground then? Just about. Okay, cool. And if I then, let's say, is there any like trapdoor? Ooh, we could also use one of these. We could use bamboo, I guess. That looks like it could be like a thatched rope. Like a roped platform like this. We could do that. That just looks... Yeah, that's simple enough. That's simple enough that it looks good from an angle. Okay, so let's see if I put in my camera. Just press this, look at it, and then go back. Perfect. I do that basically. You have like a button you can assign your camera to. I reassigned the buttons, but you have them in control where it's like, I don't know, somewhere down here you have, where is it? Machinima tools, miscellaneous tools. Yeah, here. I replaced them to the numpads because I have like other buttons, like the F keys are used for my recording settings, but I have the toggle fly and toggle camera control on those buttons, so I can just switch between those. Yes, cool. Now that we got the swing, it shouldn't be too much of a hassle to get the swing in, right? There was just a couple of ropes and trapdoors. So what I want to do now is I want to grab these different types of colored wool, and we can basically go in and decide where our sun's coming from. So if I decide the sun's coming from our left top angle, that means that the bottom of these leaves are going to look darker and the top ones are going to look lighter. So what I want to do is I could potentially get myself another brush. Let's see if this works. And if I then go select the brush and make the brush like, yeah, just go 8 wide for now. No, actually, let's keep it at 5 so we can keep it controlled. We make it red wool and we mask out only orange wool. There you go. Boom. Just like that. It should only, yeah, it should only get rid of or only replace the orange wool with red wool. So we want to have the bottom right side then a little bit more darker. So that's going to be like so. We're going to have edges. And then we're going to create depth as well, where we're gonna have like a couple of spots where orange is still going to be a thing, but we're going to keep in red into some angles as well. For example, here I want to keep a few patches of red, and we're going to go in by hand and fix it up in a second, but I just kind of want to go around and see if there's any like indents that we want to also have into shadow parts, basically. Right here, this could all be shadowy parts like that. Cool, that looks already good. If I then go to my camera, yeah, that looks good. I do think, whoops, I do think the bottom of this tree should also still be dark. Again, we can go in here by hand and fix it all up, but most of these things on the bottom should be darker, like so. Boom. This entire side could be darker, like so. Boom. And then we go on this side. And because the sun's hitting from this angle, I don't want to go too high with the dark parts. But we are going to get some dark parts here. Some dark parts in the middle here. That goes up. Boom. Just like that. And we can go in again by hand and fix it all up the way that we want it to. Ideally, we could do it with the leaves straight away, but now we're just doing it with the blocks. And then once we're done, we're replacing like the orange blocks with the orange leaves, and the red blocks with the red leaves, and the yellow blocks with the yellow leaves. Speaking of yellow blocks, we're going to redo this now. So we're going to put that on that. We're going to make our brush a little bit smaller because the highlights is going to be a little bit more subtle, I think. So I'm going to replace that to 4, and then place that to 4. Boom. And then we could go in and basically on the top parts, on the top parts, we could go around and make that all bright and orangey, just like that. Ignore the top parts here. Can I make my mask also do the red? Because if it needs to replace some of the red, I'm fine with it. Just like that. Boom. That's a highlight, and then maybe on this side that's a highlight, and then a few on this side as a highlight. The top part needs to go. That's too much red on the top. And we have these here all the way on the side, and then we have this bit here as well. Yeah, that looks good. I want to take this in as well, just like that. And then we go to this side, all of this is hit by sunlight, so I want to go and create all that brighter. Boom, just like that, all the way. Just like that. Boom. And it's going to make it so that we have like a colored leaf. And if I do like a quick check before going in by hand, if I do a quick check and replace all the leaves, let me just quickly do the replace command. I'll show you what the replace command is. I have it typed out here. So we would do like that. We would type replace cloth block wool orange, which is all the orange block, and we can replace that with the autumn leaves. If I then press enter, it's going to not... Oh, I have no selection. Of course I don't. So if I now make a selection like that, I go into my camera and I type in this command, replace block cloth block wool orange with plants leaves autumn. You can see that that has replaced itself. Now I need to replace both the other ones. Let me quickly go in and check the names and ideas of these two. So if I would then type in yellow and replace it with the aspen leaves. So I make this into aspen. Boom, it replaces those. And then if I do red and I replace those with the maple, boom, just like that. And if I then deselect, you can see that the tree is now nicely shaded. Obviously, I need to go in by hand and fix a few pieces over there, because as you can see, like that red blob might be a little bit too much. I want to have a little bit of red in there, but from this angle, it looks a little bit overstayed. Yeah, there are a few spots to fix. But so far, this is the best way we could do of making our tree. And as you can see, it's a nice shading, but I need to make it a little bit more subtle, to the point where the red is not as much red as I have right now. I think we need to tone it down just a little bit to make sense with our reference image. I'm going to quickly fix it up. I'm going to undo this, put them back to the wool blocks, and then we can basically go in by hand, fix them up, and then trial and error to make it look perfect for us. Boom, there you go. I edited the colors, and look at this right now. We got some nice depth in our tree. There's some stuff here and there I'd like to touch up with by hand, but honestly, I think if I even update this the slightest, it's gonna look a little bit off. So for now, I think we've done a well job. Like, this is basically just a proof of concept that we can build trees with our tools and basically and whatnot, but we found some, you know, some issues with the brushes and all whatnot. I am sure stuff like that will get flushed out as we go along. I think there was one more thing I need to do, which is replace the black wool with our aspen wood, which I do not have with me. Hold up, let me copy this and then go into our what was the wood again? Was it aspen? No, it was cedar, I think. Yeah, cedar. Okay. So if I type in that and I replace it with wood underscore cedar trunk cedar underscore trunk, and I think then it's also full. These names, like, there needs to be some way to make it shorter as well. Is there not? Is it not full? Is it not called full? Oh, Jesus, I typed it wrong. There you go. No selection found. Great, Vinny. Great, Vinny. You're a professional in the use of this tool. Would you look at that? Let's try it again. Boom, just like that. Boom. And then we do deselect. Haha, now look at this color. If I go over here, yes. Okay, and if I now then also turn off our full brightness, boom, we get a gradient. I love this. This is the thumbnail of the video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. All right, no, I am going to end off the video here because it's dragging on for a little longer than I wanted it to originally. But thank you so much for watching, guys. This is just a proof of concept to see what you can do with the building tools and how you could build little trees. I hope you guys enjoy like a series like this. I want to do it more, but depending on how you guys like it, I might just do it more or less. Because obviously this is like a pretty ask and demand type of video style, so I really want you guys to either enjoy it or not for me to do it and continue it. So please let me know if you like this type of video, interact with it, give me some suggestions of what I should build next, or if there's anything you would like me to build. I'm still finding a way that we could maybe make this more interactive. Maybe I just give you guys like 3 themes to build next time, and then we can, you know, kind of get this series as interactive as possible. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, but I hope to see you guys in the next one.